Welcome everyone to the online training 5 proven resume tips to write a perfect IT resume and get noticed by employers in 10 seconds guaranteed. My name is Birendra Singh and I'm super duper excited to be with you on this training. Okay guys, it will be super helpful training and I know you must be thinking, yee, everyone says the same thing about their training or content. But trust me, this online training is different. These are not some general tips, the one I'm going to share with you in this training. You will learn my proven tips that I accumulated during my 10+ years of IT career experience in Australia, working with top companies in Australia. So I just wanted to make sure, tell you clearly, honestly that yes, this is going to be really helpful training. So let's get started with this training. But before I get started, I just wanted to give you a quick disclaimer before I just get into this training. So what's the disclaimer? The disclaimer is that I'm not a career counselor or career advisor. I am a regular guy who's just like you, who understands how difficult it can be for migrants and international students to find satisfying jobs in their field. Because I came here as an international student. The pain and frustration of not getting a single phone call after applying for jobs day in and day out, and the internal pressure you feel of wanting to succeed badly, have enough money for your family, for your own goals, and to just start living the life, the good life you dream and deserve for what you came into this country in the first place. And that is why I have decided to help people like me by sharing my top job hunting IT secrets and help you learn and master these secrets and get your dream IT job in Australia fast. That's all about me, guys. So let's get straight into this online training. So that's my number one. As you can see on the screen, number one proven tip, which may feel like real common sense, but trust me, I have seen a lot of resumes where people don't even apply these sort of common sense. So just stay with me. So the very first line on your resume, so when you build a resume, when you create a resume, when you write a resume, the very first thing at the top of the resume on the very first line should always be your name, preferably centered, aligned, and in bold. No need to write. Okay, so very good tip, very simple tip, but most people, I have seen a lot of people, they don't pay attention to this tip. So what that is, no need to write. You don't need to write CV or a resume at the top of the, as the first line at the top of the resume. Why? Because it's obviously fairly obvious common sense that it is your resume, the one you send through to someone for a job. So don't waste that prime real estate. Okay, and then let's move on to the second line. So just below your name, you should always have your address and your contact details. So that's two common thing, but now it comes down to a very important tip which may surprise a lot of people, which is do not include an objective statement on your resume. I know, it may sound, ooh, we all do that. We all should have an objective statement which tells us about why we need this job or why we are applying for this job. But nah, it's a big no. It's a big no. You shouldn't do it. I explain why. So before I go and explain, let's look at a typical objective statement, and I'll explain what's wrong with it. So on your screen, I've got a typical objective statement, which I'll read it, and then I'll explain what is wrong with this. To obtain a challenging position in IT that will challenge me and allow me to use my education, skills, and past experiences in a way that is mutually beneficial to both myself and my employer and allow for future growth and advancement. So, have you noticed any problem? Not sure. Yeah, looks all good. Perfect. It's actually not perfect, but it's pretty decent. Yeah, what's wrong with this? I hear you saying, what's wrong with this? So here's the problem. The objective statement, which is on the screen, or usually the objective statement most people, we guys use on a resume, is usually what you want, and they, not the employer. So let me say it again. The objective statement on your resume is usually what you want, and they, your employer, are not interested in learning about what you want. Instead, you should tell them how you can contribute to the company and what you bring to the table through your career profile and spotlight sections of your resume, which I'll cover in detail in my next tip. So tip number 1, I'm going to go back and revisit the tip number 1, which is fairly simple. The very first line on your resume should be your name, and just after that, just below that, you should have the second line, always your contact details and your address. And then make sure you do not, it is an important tip, do not include an objective statement on your resume. Instead, use a career profile or career summary statement. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, the next should be your career profile and summary. This is what I was referring to when in the previous tip when I said do not include the objective. Instead, use this one. It's called a career profile summary. So what it is, a career profile summary basically summarizes your skill set. You need to summarize your skill set, your job history, and entire career so far till now in a paragraph or 2. So it's really limited space. In brief, you need to explain your skill set, your job history, and entire career. A career profile should include, so what it should include? A career profile should include a summary about your education, your skills, your experience, and your future plan, as in where you want to see yourself in next 5 years and how you are planning to achieve that goal. So consider this career summary section as meeting someone for the first time and introducing yourself. I say it again, listen carefully. Consider this career summary section as meeting someone for the first time and introducing yourself. So it's just like you're meeting someone for the first time. Hey, hi, my name is XYZ. Good to see you. What do you do? I do this, this, this. So this is your first impression, and you need to make this count. Make this count by putting your best foot forward. So a career profile should have your skill set, job history, and entire career described briefly in a paragraph or 2. So now, want to know how to write a compelling career profile summary? I know it's easier said than done. It's easier said, yeah, you should do this, but finding a right balance, finding a right sort of wording, the words to use, and how you integrate everything in a paragraph or 2, it's really difficult to do. It's sometimes very, very hard to come up with, very challenging. So want to know how to write a compelling career profile summary? If you do, you can download my IT resume sample and check out my career profile summary. So I have my IT resume sample. You can download my IT resume and just check out my career profile summary. It will give you an inspiration and help you write a compelling career profile summary for your resume. But please do not copy word by word. Just don't go and use as is. Obviously, you won't be able to use this because we all are different. We all have different experiences. Even if you're from the same IT job sort of title, job profile, we still have different. But feel free to you use it as an inspiration, change it according to your requirement, and just go in and use it. But the download link should be on this page below this video. Let's move on to the next tip, which is the career highlight or a career spotlight, where you will briefly explain the instances or the cases in your career when you demonstrated some sort of abilities, the sort of abilities or also some technical skills or some exceptional customer service. So let me explain what I mean. So career spotlight is briefly explaining the instances, cases in your career when you demonstrated your professional skills, your exceptional above and beyond, as we say, exceptional above and beyond customer service experience or skills, thinking on your feet abilities, and the value you contributed and how that benefited the company. So in Career Spotlight, you have to briefly explain the scenarios, the instances, the cases, give them examples in your career so far where you or when you demonstrated your professional skills, your exceptional above and beyond customer service, thinking on your feet abilities, and how it contributed to and benefited the company. So let me give you some typical questions that you can try to answer in your Career Spotlight. So let's say these are some of the questions which you can use to explain and use to demonstrate one of these or all these abilities. So first one is describe a time when you had to interact with a difficult client. So you need to describe a time when you had to interact with a difficult client. What was the situation and how did you handle it? Give an example of a goal you reached and how you achieved it. How you worked effectively under pressure. How you Give an example of thinking on a feed situation. Give an example when you improved a process within the company. Give an example of handling a challenge or challenging situation. Share an example of how you were able to motivate employees or your co-workers. So these are some sort of questions that you can think about it, and you can make some examples or cases where in your past or in your current job role where you actually demonstrated one of these abilities. You can always target 1, 2, or 3. It's up to you, but don't just go on and on with the answers. Be very specific, and keep in mind that the employer wants to know how you handle the conflicts, how you handle a challenging situation, how you improve a process within an organization, how you think out of the box, or thinking on a feed situation as we call it, how you effectively under pressure. So all those sort of things they are looking into before hiring you. So let's quickly move on to the next one. Before I move on to the next one, career spotlight. So if you want to know what I write in my career spotlight, how I phrase it, what sort of wording I use, and what I write in my resume, you can download my IT resume sample and get some inspiration from my career spotlight summary. Again, it's my humble request not to copy word by word. Okay, so let's move on to our next part of the resume, the next step of the resume, number 4 tip, which is the first 2, 3 are all covered. So let's move on to the next should be your skill set or technical expertise. But be very careful about this section. Do not put, why I'm saying that, because this can backfire. So this one, you don't need to put all the generic skills. So make sure that you do not put the generic skills in there, such as good communication skills, project management skills, change management. This is something that's too generic, and it's hard to, it's basically hard to prove, and people, have examples. So people don't, especially the employer, they don't want to know about all this stuff, but only list skills that are critical for your job role. Let's say such as tech skills and certifications you have done. For example, you have done some Microsoft certifications. Go and list those certifications. If you have done ITIL, which is a foundation certificate in IT support, or infrastructure library certification, if you've done all the certification or one certification, any kind of Microsoft or ITIL or third-party certifications, or the skills which are imperative or that are imperative to perform your job role, go and list them up, such as Amazon Web Services, ITIL, Microsoft Certified, Visual Basic .NET, C#, one of those skills that are really critical, imperative to perform for a job role. So make sure when you list your skill, be very clear about it. Make sure that be very sure, and do not list the generic skills. Let's move on to the next one, which is one of the most important topic or the important tip for this training: work experience. It should be clearly so. The next on your resume should be the work experience and job history. The work experience is one of the most critical sections of your resume. So you need to ensure that it is clearly written and easy to read and understand for an employer. So let's have a quick look at a sample work experience from my resume. Instead of giving you an example from someone else's or random resume, what I've decided is maybe pull one of the exact the job history or the job profile, job experience I used on my resume, so that I can clearly define how it should be written. Boom, here's the sample work experience from my resume. There you go. This is actually a screenshot from my resume. This is exact. I haven't hide anything except from the ears, obviously. But everything else is exactly as is. So let's have a quick look at my sample work experience from my resume and see how it's structured. So if you can see at the top, write the company name and period at the top in one line. So here where the arrow, the hand is pointing, it's a company called SAP Australia, as I say in SAP. It's an ERP software. And in the one line, I have SAP Australia, ERP software, January, and then the year, and then from until year. And in the bracket, in the next line, write the address and your experience in months. So if you see the next line, I have the address of the company, which is level 2, 441 St Kilda Road in Melbourne, and then 24 months. By the way, this is an old address. The company has been moved to further down the street. So level 2 is the address, and then I have 24 months, which is much easier for a recruiter or for an employer to see how many months you have worked, or you can even go for years. If you have done a lot of work, you go for years. But I prefer months. So you go 24 months, and then next is a brief description of the company. So SAP is the world leader in ERP, whatever it is, whatever the company does. SAP is the world leader in ERP applications in terms of software and software related services revenue. Based on market capitalization, SAP is the world's third largest independent software manufacturer. And from where do you get this? You get this from their website. Just go in about thing and find a couple of lines, and then maybe you have to just find some lines and rewrite or rearrange to reorganize them. So quickly move on to the next part, which is then write your, if you see the next one where the arrow is pointing, the hand is pointing, the next is write your job title or position description and briefly describe your primary duties and day-to-day tasks. So for example, I was working at SAP so my job role at SAP was desktop support and infrastructure engineer. So I've put it in that I worked as desktop support and infrastructure engineer. And then my responsibility is responsible for overseeing the operations of the IT department of Melbourne office, autonomously supporting all desktop IT services, including desktop PCs, laptops, PDAs, IP telephony, meeting room, video conferencing, and office printing, manage routine maintenance jobs, backups, and ensure that they are secure and reliable. So this is basically pretty much predominantly my day-to-day tasks. So next is your responsibilities. So the last section is responsibilities, where you should list all your job duties you perform. So I'm not going to go through all bullet points, but you get the idea. You can read it yourself. So I have explained everything what I used to do, or the normal stuff that I did while performing this job role during my tenure, or while I was employed at SAP as a desktop support engineer, infrastructure engineer. But now here's a quick tip for you. I wanted to share a quick tip which I'm sure you would haven't noticed on this resume. What you do is, let me point this up. There you go. This is the one where that arrow is pointing. ERP software in bracket. It's intentional. I did it intentionally, and it makes a lot of sense. So let me explain. So what I would suggest is write the industry of the company next to the company name. So where you say SAP Australia, just write the industry of the company, or basically the category or the industry from the company, for category what the company belongs to, so that the employer or the recruiter can see if you have the experience in working in an industry they are looking for. Let's say you're applying for a job at a software company. So obviously they would prefer someone who's already worked in this industry with a similar sort of, done a similar role or at a similar company. So SAP and ERP software, straight away, bang, they will connect and say, oh yeah, it's an ERP. So for example, let me give you an example. Let's say if you have the experience in working in industry, let's say Kmart or University of Melbourne. So you can write retail. So Kmart, what Kmart is, it's the industry of Kmart business is a retail. So you go supermarket, don't go supermarket, just go retail. So just go retail in the brackets. And for University of Melbourne, obviously you would write education. So that's why for SAP I have written ERP software development company in brackets, which is really important tip, so that they can don't let them do the hard work, and make it as simple as easy for them to go through your resume. List all the responsibilities, list ERP software or the category, which makes it really nicer, easier for the employer or the recruiter. I know I promised to share my top 5 proven tips, but I will quickly share 3 other important things to remember while building a resume. So very quickly, I wanted to share now that there are 3 more important tips that I really wanted to share, so that you have a complete picture of how to write a really professional and a resume that will connect with your employer, or that get noticed by your employer in straight away as soon as they view the resume or they see the resume. So what are those? Always put the education at the bottom of the resume. So yeah, don't put your education or qualifications at the top of the resume. Always put them at the bottom page of the resume, because for one simple reason, most employers choose experience over education or your qualification. But having said that, but if you have never worked, if you're a fresher, and you don't have any experience, then obviously you need to have your education at the top, or maybe just replace work experience with the education section. You don't have an option. But if you're experienced, if you have done work before, then just forget about the education. Put it right at the bottom of the resume. Next one is, if you want to stand out from the other applicants. This is a real creative way. If you really want to stand out from the other applicants, then what you do, how do you stand out? Well, just record a 2 to 3 minute introduction video and include that link to that intro video in your resume. You can dump that video link to one of those cloud hosting platforms such as Dropbox or Google Drive and include the link to the video in your resume. Having said that, be very careful and only do this if you are very confident and not a camera shy person, because it can backfire if you don't do it, if not done impeccably or properly. But yes, it will definitely help you stand out from the rest, and you will come across as a super confident person. And just imagine if you're having a look through the resume, and at the bottom you see somewhere, hey, I've just recorded a 2 to 3 minute my introduction video, so go and have a look, and it'll tell you more about me as an individual, or give you an idea about my personality. Don't you think that people or a recruiter or an employer will go and quickly have a look? They will definitely have a look. No one, they can't say no to something like this, because this is something that's not common. Okay, and the last one, how long a resume should be. This is a really common question that gets asked. If you look through all the forums, Google, and a lot of different places, even I used to ask this question when I initially started in the industry, that how long it should be. Well, to be honest, there is no rule of thumb for the length of the resume. The simple answer is as long as it takes you to explain what you got to offer. So there is no rule of thumb, there is no golden rule on how lengthy or how long a resume should be. However, that doesn't mean that your resume can be 5 to 7 to 10 pages long, because obviously no one got the time to read 5, 7, 10 pages resume. But I'm sure that you got the idea, you got the picture where I'm coming from, what I'm trying to explain, that there's no golden rule that has to be 1 page, 2 page, or 3 page. But yes, if you can squeeze it, explain everything in 2 pages, great. Don't just for the sake of stretching it 3 pages, go 3 pages. So it's up to you. And let me explain this by an analogy. So if I just want to give you a real life example analogy, let me ask you a question. Is there a minimum or a maximum length as in screen time for a movie to be successful? If I say, hey, is there a minimum or maximum screen time for a movie to be a really great super hit? Of course not. These days the average length or the screen time of a movie is about, I guess, 100 minutes. But does that mean if you're going to make a movie which goes on beyond 100 minutes is bound to fail? Nah, hell no. Let me give you an example. Let's take Avatar, for example. It is one of the biggest hits of all time. And if you check the length of Avatar, it's about 160 minutes. So it's almost 160 minutes long screen time for the movie. So always remember, there is no hard and fast rule, or as we say, rule of thumb when it comes to the length of your resume. So just keep it short and sweet. But even if it takes 3 pages for you to explain what you got to offer, and where you have to put your best foot forward, it takes 3 pages, go 3 pages. Don't just cut it short to 2 pages just because a recruiter, or you read a forum or a blog on a Google somewhere. Don't make it complicated. But having said that, stick to up to 3 pages. Don't try to stretch to 4, 5, 6 pages, obviously, which still makes no sense, because no one got the time to read those 5, 7 pages resume. Okay, so now we are coming to the end of this training. So want to download my sample IT resume in editable MS Word document format? I have this a link to complete the checkout on this page, and you will receive the download link in your email instantly as soon as you complete the checkout. You can download my resume. It's my actual resume that I'm sharing with you. It's an editable MS Word format. So instead you have to go and create your new resume from the checklist, all the tips I've shared with you from the scratch, and reformat, and just make it really complicated. You can quickly edit my resume according to your requirements, because I'm going to share my exact resume, the one I use or I used to apply the jobs with. That's my editable resume, so they can quickly edit it according to your requirement. So sounds good? If it sounds good, if you're interested, complete the checkout. The link is on this page and you will receive the download link in your email instantly. So guys, that brings us to the end of this awesome online training. Hope you enjoyed this training as much as I did and got some great value out of it. If you have any questions or want to share some feedback, feel free to send those through to my email address, which is on your screen. Birender, that's my first name, at mytechninja.com.au. That's my personal website. Or send me a quick text on my office mobile, which is again on your screen, +61, which is obviously Australia's country code, 0410488025, or send me a email, a text, whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Good luck with your job hunting, guys. I hope you got some great value out of it. I will see you in the next training session. Okay, so bye for now.